know that you are the mother of one child, Pan Pan, your son, and you have decided to go out and meet the only children, the children who were born after the one-child policy came in 1979. And I'm curious as to why. Why did you want to go and talk to them?
Why I started this thinking wasn't the idea of a book or writing or journalist. It's about mother, being a mother. Mm-hmm. Because since I gave the birth to this child, and I realized something I never knew. I thought I knew how to be a mother, and actually it's not. And also, Pan Pan was born in 1988. That time, one-child policy had become nature of our culture, society culture already. So I can see I was like weathered by its kind of fear, frightened to lose the only child. Right. Then we heard lots of the story, and also I physically was told I had no chance to have another child. So when that time China didn't have a sexual education in the public education system, and we didn't allow to talk about anything about sexual knowledge. And we didn't have this kind of social support to the family. So as being a mother, I had no way to know how to be the mother of this only child. So that was the first reason for me want to know how other family, how other mothers and the children, this kind of relation or something. The first thing was this.
It's very, when I first started learning Chinese, one of the things that struck me about the language is how many words there are for family relationships, that every kind of family relationship is mapped in the language. So things that would take half a sentence to say in English, like my second cousin's younger brother, there's a word for that, in Chinese. Because family relationships have been so central to Chinese culture for down the centuries.
Chinese society or this nation, I have to say, by my knowledge, is rooted or shaped totally by family. It's because we didn't have or still haven't got national religions. And we have our philosophy, we have Taoism, it's much earlier than any religion come into China. Also, the religion never been nationalized religion. So people is based on in the family structure very much. My mom's generation, when Mao just took over, mm-hmm. So he encouraged people, Chinese, to have a bigger family.
Absolutely.
Against the Soviet, against America, against the poor, because we believe bigger family will bring the more fortune and luck or family defense system to you, and also old age pension.
Right.
Yeah. So my mom's generation, they encourage you have 6 brothers, 12 brothers, sisters. Then suddenly come to my generation. Actually, in that time, late 1950s, early 60s, by many reasons, the population shrink already. But in people's mind, it's not by our choice. Mm-hmm. It's by nature or political something. Our tax system from a very early age, about 223 BC sometimes set up.
You had tax?
Yes, we had a tax system. And in this system is, if you have one more boy, you have one more land, a piece of land, right. Or some benefit. If you have one more girl, you won't have anything. And so this is why in the village or the peasant's culture, if you don't have a son, it's not just your family treats that, it's you become a criminal in that society. That's more serious.
Maybe an outcast, or do you mean a criminal?
They can drive them out. Uh-huh. I've been interviewing many young couples. They are totally driven out from the village, and by their own parents say, don't come back until you have a son. So when this policy come in, for many peasants, they feel just no future. So they're really against. And actually, this policy, I would say, was until 1984 it has been firmed as a national policy, but it wasn't a national law until 2001, 2002. Wasn't a law at all.
Because it was so unpopular?
Well, by 1984, this policy changed to become, for the cities, one-child policy. For the countryside, it's a two-children policy. And then for the minority, we have 55 minorities unlimited.
Yeah.
I thought it was unlimited, but in fact, they have a certain limited, it's about 4 children. But this policy, I don't think really carry out is properly or in the well way. Because if, like last year when I went back to China, I visited about 10 places, and particularly for the taxi in Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou, all of them I interviewed. No one had only one child. They have 3 or 4.
But nevertheless, there are still people, and you meet so many of them in your book, who are just the only children. And it's a fairly extraordinary journey meeting these young people. And one thing that strikes me very forcibly is that they don't know how to do anything. The young woman that you meet in New Zealand, who also doesn't have a good relationship with her mother, but in order, her first meal, she's on the phone to China for 3 hours as her mother gives her instructions. She wants to eat something with spinach. First of all, she has to identify spinach in the supermarket.
Yes.
So her mother sends her a picture of spinach. She buys her spinach, on and on and on.
That's right.
She's then chopping the spinach, and she can't chop the spinach. And her mother says, well, why not? And she's got the knife the wrong way around. I mean, this is a level of incompetence that's really quite hard to imagine.
But first of all, I knew mobile can make pictures from her.
She taught you how to.
Yes.
So she does have some skills.
Yes. And the second, I was really shocked that she gave me the sentence say, I hate my mom because she brought up me as a pet. So sharp. When I asked many other students about this, I said, do you agree with that? They said, well, when we're in China, very comfortable, we don't think in this way. But when we come out in overseas study, we couldn't live without a takeaway. We thought it's a little bit like that. Then, in the book I mentioned, when I heard about this, I thought about my own son, and also I want to know about parents' reaction. So I sent her sentence to many friends who are in this research network. I said, what do you think about the sentence? Then many parents back to me say, if our children think we brought up them as a pet, have they thought about they treated us as a slave? That is made me feel very sad. Actually, it's back to before the question, is what really changed China is if we rooted, shaped by family value. Now you can see what we're facing. And the family now is much more close, like a bank or life supply. Not very much about daily life. And in your soul, your philosophy, your beliefs, what family means to you.
You make a theme through the book of the case of Yao Jiaxin, which is a very terrible story. This is a young man who had a car accident, who ran over a woman, got out of the car and stabbed her to death because he didn't want her testifying against him. That's a pretty terrible story. And I'm interested that, it would be a terrible story anywhere. And it became one of those moments in China when everybody stops and thinks, what kind of society are we? And cases like that, which are isolated cases, nevertheless, do prompt that kind of reflection. I'm just curious as to why you took it as a kind of measurement of response, if you like. You ask everyone that you meet
yes,
what they think of Yao Jiaxin.
Because Yao Jiaxin, this news come out, at that time I just finished the first draft of this book. I try, because before other books I feel very heavy, I try to make a little bit lively for this, young generation. But when the Yao Jiaxin's case come out, I was really shocked. Few things. First of all, he's a very clever, talented pianist. Okay, and his family paid everything for his study piano. So he kept his fingers very carefully. All his family, friends, and classmates to help him to wash the fruit or to chop things because he has to keep his fingers. But when his car hit this peasant woman, and he was panic. So he used the fruit knife, stab this woman to death with his hands, never touched the knife. So when I discovered why he did this, he had a long interview with someone or talked to the policeman. He said, because he's a father. His father educated him as a model, as you must do this. I won't say it's a tiger mother, must be wolf father. Okay? So this boy panic, first thing is not human life. It's not about this woman still alive, breathing, ask him for the help. It's the first thing is, if my father knew what happened to me. So his knowledge of life and the society is so naive, so selfish. So now that's shocked me. And then secondly, because this case come out to the internet in China, the whole society divided to different three big parts. The one part was a very strong voice from university students, say, educated single child has much more value than uneducated peasants.
Oh,
yes. Very strong. Even Chinese here, they know in internet, big argument. Even Yao Jiaxin's classmates say, if I was him, I would do the same things. It's a young girl. Another group would say, well, this is single children. The single children means this boy gave a death penalty and the whole family, 3 generations finished. It's not a one child punishment. It's punished whole 3 generations. So sure, we gave him some chance, the family, to live. But another group would say, if we don't give his death penalty, then China has no law. So no, for me, I thought it's not something just by equal or not. It's a value, your thinking. Okay, like, how do you say? Oscar Wilde said, if you start or if you prize everything, you value nothing. This is made me worried about China. We start to prize everything. But this kind of title, position, materials, or classes, is we lost this kind of thinking, respect to the family, to the human equal life, respect. So this is why I decided to ask the young people what they think about this. Because partly I want to know those children I know so well, which group they belong to. And partly I want to learn from them. Because I found in the last 20 or 30 years, when this policy started, and many adults criticize them as a little princess, little sons, little this, little that. Very few article or book or space to listen to them. So what they think, how they feel to be a single child, particularly first generation. And in the human history, no country had this kind of policy or period. They don't know how to deal with that. So how do they feel?